poor Sega Saturn, arguably one of the most horrifically marketed consoles in history, and a serious factor to Sega pulling out of the hardware business. This little guy just can't catch a break. But I'm not here to talk about the Saturn and its train wreck time on retail, more so I'm focusing on something else. In 1995, when the Sega Saturn was on course to release, the tension was high, with Nintendo set to release their all-new powerful 64-bit game system in '96, and the newcomer PlayStation already being released and gaining traction extremely fast. Sega knew the competition was tough, and just like they did with the Genesis, they needed to bundle the Saturn with a killer app, a game worth buying the console for alone and setting them aside from the competition. Nintendo 64 had Mario 64, the PlayStation had Crash Bandicoot, and Sega, well, they had Virtua Fighter. Now don't get me wrong, Virtua Fighter is a good game and was groundbreaking in its day, but as a fighting game it didn't really have the mass appeal that Sega needed in a gaming landscape dominated by platformers. But I'm pretty sure Sega had a mascot already. What was it? Alex Kidd? No, that's not it. What was the name again? I think it was... Yes, of course. Sonic the Hedgehog was on fire in the 90s. Sonic 1, Sonic 2, then Sonic 3 and K, they were all setting records in sales and practically the single-handed reason Sega was rivaling Nintendo so closely. But you may ask, with stern competition and a mascot at the height of its career, where was Sonic on the Saturn? If any console needed a killer app, it was that one. And I mean, the Sega CD got Sonic CD, and even the ill-fated 32X got Knuckles Chaotix, so where the hell was Sonic on Saturn? Well, the truth is, he was stuck in development hell. A full new Sonic game was in development on Saturn, but after numerous delays and problems, the game was cancelled. Many of you may already know the name of the game, Sonic Xtreme. I could make an entire video alone talking about the development of this game, but that's not what we're here for. There are some truly great YouTube videos online detailing the story of this game, so if you are interested, there's many YouTubers talking about the game in detail. To keep things short, the game essentially was just delayed and delayed and delayed with setback after setback after setback, until Sega just said, fuck this, and cancelled the game. Then they went to Sonic Team and said, Xtreme fell through, we want you to make a 3D Sonic game for the Saturn, and they got to work on it. But by the time all of this happened, the Saturn was essentially a lost cause, and with the launch of the Dreamcast around the corner, Sonic Team's project was transferred over to the good old DC and became Sonic Adventure. So does that mean for the entire life of the Saturn it had no Sonic games whatsoever? No game from Sega's most beloved mascot? No, it does not. In fact, the Saturn actually had 3 Sonic games released on it. Whenever I was younger and I would always hear people talking about the fact that the Saturn had no Sonic games, I would always be confused, because upon looking it up, there were 3 Sonic games clearly released for the Saturn, and I mean, the Dreamcast only had 3 Sonic games released, being SA1, 2 and Sonic Shuffle, so what's the deal? Well, the 3 games that were released were not exactly what people had in mind. So with people constantly talking about how one of the reasons the Saturn failed was that it had no real Sonic games, let's take a look into the 3 that were released and see exactly what's up. Sonic 3D Blast, or Sonic 3D Flicky's Island as it's known in Europe, is an interesting game. Each of the 3 Sonic games we are going to talk about today failed to impress consumers for different reasons, and Sonic 3D Blast's reason is that, well, it's a Genesis game. Sonic 3D Blast was released in November of 1996 for both Sega Genesis and Sega Saturn. Here's why. Most of the development of 3D Blast was handled by Traveler's Tales since Sonic Team were busy making Night into Dreams. 3D Blast was developed as a game for the Genesis while another studio was creating Sonic Xtreme. However, when Sonic Xtreme was cancelled, Sega commissioned a port of 3D Blast for the Saturn, featuring improved graphics and music. So there you have it. Before even talking about the game itself, we are off to a bad start, since the Sonic game Saturn fans get is just a souped up Genesis game. Why Sega didn't just completely switch the game to release on the Saturn exclusively is beyond me. I mean, at this point Sega had done fucking everything they could to expand the life of the Genesis, so I really think it was time to move on, but fine. Okay, so let's set aside the fact that we're basically just getting a beefed up Genesis game. is it actually good? Well, despite what the game's title implies, Sonic 3D Blast is not a 3D Sonic game. Sonic 3D Blast is an isometric game, and it's not very good. I have tried with this game time and time again, but each time I come away with the same conclusion: it's just not fun. Sonic does not work well at all in this gameplay style. I'll start off with the controls. Now, the standard Saturn controller does not have an analog stick, simply a Genesis style D-pad, and put simply, it's just not good enough. Sonic does not control well in this game, and the lack of an analog stick really makes movement extremely slippery, and with the lack of a homing attack, landing shots on enemies can be a serious pain in the ass. The top down isometric view really does not work well with Sonic's speed, and the game just does not flow well at all. The speed you can get to on your own is not impressive, and any real speedy sections of the game are completely automated sections with things like loops. Some of you may say, what about the Saturn 3D control pad? But I don't own that, and likely neither did the majority of people playing the game back in 1996. So even if that did make the controls better, it's still an issue that the game controls bad with the standard Saturn controller everyone's given when buying the console. The controls are not simply down to the Saturn controller. Something about Sonic's acceleration and turning is just off. Everything is just so slippery, and it's really hard to describe without you actually playing it for yourself, but Sonic in general just does not feel good to control. But bad controls in a Sonic game are not necessarily a deal breaker for me. I mean, I like Sonic and the Secret Rings despite the horrific control scheme that game has. No, the real thing that kills Sonic 3D Blast for me, and many others, is the flickies. Unlike traditional Sonic games where the player simply races through a stage to the goal ring, Sonic 3D Blast works where you explore a level to find a certain amount of flickies, then bring them back to a goal ring, deposit them, and then you can exit the stage. This way of playing is just not fun in a Sonic game. All you want to do is blast through these stages, but your progression is locked behind defeating enemies and finding flickies. And because of this gameplay mechanic, the level design takes a serious hit. The levels are maze-like and feel barren. If Traveler's Tales did not choose to go with the stupid choice of collecting flickies to proceed, and rather had it where you simply just progress from A to B through the level, the game may have actually been decent. But for me, the flicky collecting just ruins it completely. The game was seen as mediocre when it released at the time, and definitely not the revolutionary Sonic game many were hoping for. Besides all that, the fact is that a beefed up Genesis game was never going to be enough to carry the Saturn. The Saturn version does look nicer than the Genesis version, and they added things in like 3D special stages and the much improved FMV intro, but this is just not enough to compete with games like Super Mario 64. The Saturn was retailing for $399 in the US, and Sonic 3D Blast does definitely not justify that price, especially when the essentially same game is available on the Genesis. Okay, Sonic Jam. Now this one is fascinating. Sega were aware that they were at a serious disadvantage not having a true Sonic title for the Saturn, and to try and ease the pain they released Sonic Jam. Sonic Jam is a collection of Sonic the Hedgehog 1, Sonic the Hedgehog 2, Sonic the Hedgehog 3, and Sonic and Knuckles. Now while a collection of the Genesis Sonic games is definitely not that next generation Sonic experience many were hoping for, something should be said for Sonic Jam, because as a way to play all the classic Sonic games, excluding CD, it is an exceptional game, especially for 1997. Something must be said for how each of these games run on the Saturn. Emulation of the Genesis has always been hit or miss, with it only really being perfected in recent years. Look at Sega Smash Pack on Dreamcast. But instead of going for the emulation route, Sonic Team chose to completely recreate the games for Saturn, and it paid off. The games are true ports for the Saturn and are nearly identical to the Genesis games. The ports run exceptionally well with a more stable frame rate than the Genesis originals, and for anyone like me living in the PAL territories who experienced Sonic 1, 2 and 3 at a much slower pace due to the 50Hz TV signals, Sonic Jam has fixed it, where all the games run run at the correct intended speed regardless of region. I did occasionally experience some slowdown, but the issue was never more than a minor annoyance, and on the whole these are excellent ports for the Saturn. Sonic Team didn't just stop with creating authentic and accurate ports for the Genesis, they went above and beyond and added in new features for the games. For starters, they added in the spin dash to Sonic 1, which I truly am thankful for. Sonic 1 plays fine without the spin dash, but the game just flows so much better in my opinion with it. They also fixed some known bugs for the games to make them just that bit more polished and added in 2 new game modes. For each game you have the choice to play in original mode, where the game works exactly like how you remember it on the Genesis. Then there's normal mode, which alters the state's design slightly to create a bit of a different experience and attempt to make the familiar levels a bit more fresh. And then lastly there's easy mode, which adds more platforms and removes the amount of obstacles in difficult areas, and even removes some whole levels. They also allow for you to now access special stages in time attack mode, and even allow you to use the lock-on technology of Sonic and Knuckles in-game to digitally attach the cartridge onto Sonic 3 and even Sonic 2 to access all of the features of the Genesis games. This truly is an excellent collection of the Genesis Sonic games and a great way to play them all. The only real minor complaint is the sound of the games. It's mainly noticeable with sound effects, but some stuff can sound just ever so slightly off. This is to be expected since the Genesis sound is notoriously hard to replicate, but this is seriously minor, and as far as I can hear, the music sounds one-to-one. Take a listen to some of the sound effects and see if you can hear the slight difference. On a whole though, this collection features excellent ports of the original Genesis Sonic games. Now with that said, you may ask, what exactly makes this game so fascinating? While they're good ports, this game is still just a collection of Sonic games that were already released on the Saturn's predecessor. Well, the Sonic games aren't the only thing on this disc. There's also this thing called Sonic World. This is a fully 3D small world for you to explore as Sonic. In this small area, you can head to different buildings and view the history of the Sonic franchise up to that point, through things like advertisements, artwork, music, and even the uncompressed full opening of Sonic CD. This stuff may seem extremely significant now, since the internet means we can just access all of this and more with a few clicks, but back then, this stuff was extremely hard to get a hold of, and for some Sonic fans, likely the only way they could access some of it. There's also some fun stuff to explore in the Sonic World area, with platforms and bridges to run and jump on, and you can even find Tails to get him to fly you around the area. There is a mission list for the world which can get the player to complete small tasks like collecting rings and reaching goalposts in time for something to do. All of this was incredible for Sonic fans to see at the time. It was a complete bittersweet moment because they finally got to see a snippet of what a 3D Sonic game on Saturn could be like, but at the same time, after years, this is all they get, a small area to look at Sonic memorabilia. Well, the most fascinating part about this Sonic world is that this was actually essentially a very early Sonic adventure. As I said earlier in the video, Sonic Adventure began development on the Saturn, but Sega switched it over to the Dreamcast. Well, when the time for Sonic Team to switch developments over to the Dreamcast came, not wanting their work on Saturn to go to waste, they took what they had already made on the Saturn and repurposed it into Sonic World so fans get at least something 3D Sonic on the Saturn. Knowing this fact makes Sonic World even more interesting because you can see the groundwork of adventure here, even if it is incredibly watered down. While this is cool, especially now since we can compare it to Adventure, back in 1997, while Sonic World was impressive, it wasn't enough to take away the fact that the Saturn still didn't have a 3D Sonic game, and all fans were getting was essentially a re-release of a load of games they played years earlier. While the game is impressive and definitely interesting to look back on, Sonic Jam was still not enough to scratch the Sonic itch on the Saturn. So now we are onto the last Sonic game released for Saturn. So far, every Sonic game on Saturn has been playable on the Genesis in some way, whether that be Sonic 3D Flicky's Island, which was an enhanced Genesis game ported to the Saturn, or Sonic Jam, which was a compilation of 4 classic Sonic games from the Genesis. So that leaves us with Sonic R. And this game is the only one of the 3 to be completely console exclusive to the Saturn in all aspects. You could not play this game on any other platform aside from the PC and Saturn at the time of its release in 1997. This game is also fully 3D. This is the only 3D Sonic game on the Saturn. This game sounds like it's checking all the boxes right now, so what's the deal with it? Sonic R is a completely new racing game for the Saturn, developed by Traveller's Tales. That's right, this isn't a traditional 3D Sonic game, this is a racing game. In the game you choose from 10 playable races, some of which need to be unlocked, and race for first place on one of 5 tracks. The game references no story at all when playing, but there is a plot described in the manual. Okay, so the real question is this game actually good? Well, in my opinion,
the answer is yes and no.
I'll start off with being positive. The biggest quality of this game by far is the graphics. Sonic R looks incredible for the Saturn, a console that notoriously struggled with 3D graphics compared to competition. I'll also say that of the few tracks available, they're very in-depth and interesting, with multiple paths and intricate layouts to learn. However, this game is short, like extremely short. As mentioned before, the game features 5 tracks, and in a standard playthrough, the game can easily be beaten under an hour. When compared to the content similar mascot racing games were boasting at the time, like Crash Team Racing and Mario Kart 64, Sonic R really can't compete. The game does feature a 2-player multiplayer mode and a time attack mode, but it's no secret the game is light on content. The characters are also incredibly unbalanced, with characters like Dr. Robotnik and Amy being pretty much useless, while Knuckles and especially Sonic are extremely overpowered. These are just standard characters. If you unlock Super Sonic, there is no looking back. The other races just don't stand a chance at all. However, it should be said that Sonic R is not just meant to be played where you race to the finish. The game can be played like that for sure, but the intricate track layouts are not for nothing. The game features coins to collect, gates to open that require a certain amount of rings, and chaos emeralds to obtain. Any fan of this game will tell you that the real intricacy and depth of the game comes from finding all the collectibles on the track while still managing to get first place. Obtaining the collectibles are the only way you could unlock the secret characters like Super Sonic. YouTuber Liam Triforce has recently just made a video on Sonic R that is great and explains in depth how the game is meant to be played, so link to that video in the description. It's definitely worth checking out. However, the short length of the game is not people's main complaint. The main issue for people by far with this game is its controls. The controls of Sonic R are definitely out there. Characters feel very heavy and people often complain making tight turns is impossible, resulting in falling off the track or constantly bumping into walls, but I do have to disagree. I'm not denying that the feel of the characters in this game takes some getting used to, but I definitely don't think they're unplayable, and after some time they warm on you and your struggle with the control ends. Whenever I hear people talking about how they can't make turns, I always feel like asking, do you know that the triggers on the Saturn controller also turn the characters? For tight corners, combining the trigger and pushing down the desired direction on the D-pad results in a tight turn that rarely results in hitting a wall or falling off the track, at least in my experience. I can understand that the controls of this game definitely do not feel like how you would expect a 3D Sonic game to control. I mean, your character can't even go backwards in the game, and being completely honest, I can't see how this game isn't what people want. They want a full 3D Sonic game for the Saturn. I'm willing to bet many of the people who bought the system did it for that reason. This short racing game with odd controls is definitely not the killer 3D Sonic game the Saturn needs, but I do think it is a decent game for what it is, and it does have a charm to it. Being honest, I just dig the aesthetic of this game, with the low poly characters and the out of place music you can't help but love.
See, the sun is shining on me. It makes me feel so free, so alive. It makes me want to survive. And the sky, it makes me feel so high. The bad times pass me by, 'cause today it's gonna be a brighter day.
I definitely have a soft spot for this game, but I can say that this is clearly not the 3D Sonic game the Saturn needed. Overall, looking at all 3 Sonic games released for the Saturn has been an interesting experience. Each game missed the mark for different reasons, and Saturn fans never got the 3D Sonic game they were promised. Some may say it's a blessing in disguise, as Sonic Xtreme definitely didn't look great from the footage we have of it, and Sonic Adventure surely benefited from becoming a Dreamcast game. It was the best selling game for the console and practically carried it at launch. The Sonic library on the Saturn perfectly represents the console. The fundamentals were all there, but what came out just wasn't quite good enough. I'd say Sonic R was the game that came closest to a full 3D Sonic game for Saturn, and at least meant that in some way Sonic in 3D was on the console in some form, but we will never know what a true 3D Sonic game on the Saturn would have been.